What has changed is my deep belief over the years that actually I prefer working with teams to solve problems rather than alone. I prefer bringing 25 brains together and watching the brains compete with each other to solve. It's the culture of the company that has driven whatever it's driven. If you ask me one thing that's driven it, there is no such problem as your problem. It is always our problem. So every problem is our problem. It's not a your problem. Team versus individual. The solution is better, faster, cheaper than if one person tries to solve the problem. So once you intellectually agree with these two things, the most important thing that a leader has to do if they want to drive change is to actually be the role model.
Everyone, a very good afternoon to you, and a very warm welcome to each one of you. And of course, on behalf of all of you and all of us here in the team, Tiger, a hearty welcome to the session.
Thank you. Thank you, Pramod. Thank you.
We have been looking forward to this for some time. We're going to be sort of brief with the introduction because that's your body of work, your professional life is a part of our discussion as well, as you know. But very briefly, Tiger is first of all, I love your name. The first name denotes raw courage, which I think is so important for people in the leadership positions. So Tiger is a graduate of the premier institutions of our country, alumnus of IIT Bombay and IIM Ahmedabad. From there, he landed up at Unilever. From the campus to the regional sales manager, leading fairly big team. And that's one of the things we will be talking about during the session. Then, of course, Citibank, and then GE Capital. And I think that is where one got to see the full potential of Tiger's leadership for the kind of transformative work that he did. GE Capital, backroom office to Genpact. So let me not take away the excitement of discussing that here in the introduction. We'll talk about it more. After having driven the large organization called Genpact as a president and CEO, and now he is there as their senior advisor. And in addition to that, there are a large number of companies that he advises. BCG, Bain Cap, Brighton Park Cap, Evolve, Spark, Bridge Green, Upcycle, High Radius, ABSL, HFS, HTEC. And he's also on the board of a number of companies, Jabil, Inetram, Health Edge, Mathco, NSP Giant Management School. So having completed his CEO's term, he remains as busy as he ever was, possibly even during his tenures. He has deep strength and interest in AI and machine learning, and he believes these are tools to reimagine business models, and he uses them. Deep strength in pretty much every facet of financial services, risk management in particular, but pretty much everything. Outside of business, evolution of universe, cosmology, astrophysics, after all an engineer, evolution of life on Earth, human evolution, genetics and human history. These are some of the passions that he pursues. And, a truly global Indian, has lived pretty much in every part of the world. And for now, he is based out of Lisbon in Portugal. And he continues to attend to all his responsibilities, traveling all over the world. So that in a nutshell is about Tiger. Actually, if you really want to do justice with introduction, it'll fill the session. So I've been rather brief. Um, so with that, Tiger, a warm welcome once again to this session.
Thank you very much, Pramod. Delighted to be in this conversation. Thank you.
Yes, and we are looking forward to this chat. Um, in terms of, my first question to all my guests in this session is and that to get a peep into the kind of person I'm talking to. So, and now, of course, Tiger, an astute corporate leader, has made his mark and continues to advise. Um, Tell us from your teenage days as a young boy, Tiger. Behavioral scientists tell us that by the time we reach teenage, our self concept, what we think of ourselves, some sense of right and wrong, am I better than others, or whatever, starts shaping up. And then, of course, the evolution or transformation that we have seen. So when you think about the young Tiger, teenage, and Tiger Tyagarajan now, what similarities and what differences come to your mind?
Wow, that's a pretty deep question. So once again, thank you for inviting me to this conversation.
Thank you.
So I'll start with the things that I think haven't changed, at least as far as I can remember.
Okay.
Um, and I agree. In my study of human evolution, the evolution of the brain, the way the mind works, I've got enough conviction now, based on all the research that's been done, that the initial 9 months, 18 months, 3 years, 7 years, 8 years are incredibly important for the way the child's brain develops and the personality that evolves.
Right.
Uh, yeah, all research has shown that. It doesn't matter, doesn't mean it can't change, but a lot of the foundational elements are set up. So, at the deep foundational level, some things that haven't changed for me is I just am incredibly curious about everything.
Mm,
I just want to know the answer to everything. And
mm,
I live my entire life, and I think this goes back to when I was a little kid as well, constantly asking questions.
mm,
Whether it was with my parents at home, with friends, in school, I was the person who would keep asking questions.
mm,
Um, and that hasn't changed. I still believe that actually that's the superpower of humans. Um, the superpower of humans is keep asking questions. AI will help you get answers faster, better, cheaper,
mm,
and more widespread, but questions have to come from humans. So that's always been the case. The second, which has been pretty deep, is I love solving problems.
mhm,
For me, everything is a problem that has to be solved. Nothing is a obstacle. Um, by definition, an obstacle is a problem that needs to be solved. And,
mm,
and I think I still live my life like that. And the third one is I just consider life to be really short. Therefore, literally nothing matters. Only the present matter.
okay.
Um, and I just think doing the right thing and being good with people and doing the right thing with people is more important than anything else.
Mhm, mhm,
Um, those things haven't changed. What has changed is I think I used to be a deep nerd when I was growing up. All my curiosity and problem meant that I would study a lot, read a lot, try to understand a lot, and solve a lot of problems myself.
mhm,
Sometimes I would take a problem, and I have struggled sometimes for 4 or 5 weeks on my own trying to solve that one problem. And until I
mhm,
solve it, I'm not happy. So
mhm, mhm,
what
mhm,
has changed is my deep belief over the years that
mhm,
actually I prefer working with teams to solve problems rather than alone. I
mhm,
prefer bringing 25 brains together and watching the brains compete with each other to solve a problem. I prefer the human element of all of that. I do believe that lots of problems can be solved by lots of people. The big question is, can you actually get people to agree to the solution? and can you get people to embrace it and drive change? So all the soft skills that come with all of that, I'm a big believer that one, I love those things more than before, and two, that's probably more important in the world of AI than ever before. So I'll stop there.
Mm, this is wonderful. I think there's a wonderful lesson. So curiosity, the I have to crack this problem that had stayed from the early days.
And optimism, and everything is
Optimism.
positive. Everything.
Wonderful. Yes, that had stayed. So the foundational elements of leadership were there in early days. And now that one has to leverage the capabilities available around, I think that part has rightly shifted. So you bring people along and get them. No wonder you were able to do what you were able to do at various places. Wonderful. Uh, uh, Getting it reiterated from someone, who has been there and done that. So in terms of the shift that happened, that let me not solve everything myself, but let me see what I can get and do that. How did that shift happen? That's important for people in the leadership roles.
Yeah, I think I'll start with when I got out of my high school and started my college education. That was the first time I left home,
Mhm,
and that was the first time I actually was with a group of peers, other
mhm,
students, when I joined IIT Bombay.
mhm,
And after the first couple of weeks, I started enjoying the fact that we were together for 24 by 7, and we were going to be together for 5 years.
mhm,
Because at that time, when I joined in 1978, it was a 5-year program. And, we settled into a rhythm of, obviously the class is 600 people, but a group of 10 to 15 of us who became very close friends. And we
mhm,
would work together, solve problems together, play together, lots of things together. And I started enjoying that aspect of living versus just trying to do everything myself. So that was the beginning, I think, of that journey. So I
mhm,
never studied alone. Um, in preparation for, some of the, you know, more crazy exams at IIT, I think I rarely studied alone. I
mhm,
always studied with another couple of people,
mhm,
depending on the subject. And I always preferred doing that. Um, I always studied in slightly more public places rather than in a silent room. I can't do anything in a silent room. I never went and sat in a library and studied because it was too quiet.
mhm, mhm,
Even today, my best work, if I'm trying to think about something, um, when I used to prepare for earnings calls at Genpact on a
mhm,
weekend, I would, take all my laptop and all my, thinking together and papers, and I would walk into a coffee shop in New York, and then subsequently when I was living in London, and spend 5 or 6 hours,
mhm.
having 3 or 4 coffees and working through that while all the noise around me was going on. So I think that happened in IIT, and then at IIM,
Mm,
I didn't work between IIT and IIM. I went straight to IIM. I think it was even more clear that actually I love doing that because 100% of IIM Ahmedabad's method of learning and teaching is case studies, and case studies are done by teams,
mm,
and
mm,
teams are formed organically. No one forms teams. No one tells you this is the team. Teams just come together. And, there were different teams that came together for different things. But some of us came together on many of those teams, always together because we like working together.
mm,
I just love that. So very quickly, I decided I'm not going to be an engineer. I think engineering gave me the foundational problem solving engineering headset, which I still think I have. But I prefer working with people, trying to figure out ways to, conquer Mount Everest as a team rather than, you know, alone. Which
mm,
is why I don't like individual sports at all. I only like team sports.
mhm,
I
mhm,
just don't like individual sports.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
I mean, yesterday I was glued to the television watching
Yes.
the Indian women's cricket team, and
Sure.
the joy of watching the team win as a team and actually take pride in each other, not in their own performance, but other people's performance, is
Mm,
what I think is ultimately human.
this is wonderful, Tiger. I mean, just by self. realization and experience at IIT and then more at IIM, the whole way of solving problem shifted. Whole lot of, since I work in leadership space, whole lot of people need many sessions of coaching and years of work before it's about team, not about you, really happens. So uh, obviously, obviously, the deep interest in that shift was there and deliberate effort was there. So there's something to learn for uh, for the people. Now, the next question I have is, of course, I hope we will be able to do all of them, but this is, these are deeply insightful. Now, from campus of IMA to regional manager of Unilever, obviously fairly big team. Uh, Tell me um, how how does one manage a student? Of course, case studies you've done, but managing sales at a regional level with a big team, how was coping it like?
No, so when I joined, actually, I didn't join Levers. I became part of Levers because I joined Ponds,
Mm-hmm.
Cheeseborough Ponds, which was an independent company in 1985.
Mm-hmm.
My first day on the job, I spent in Bombay at the regional office. And then on the second day, I took a flight to Indore because my job was the management trainee in charge of the state of Indore for sales. And I had
Okay.
a team of 6 salespeople who I was given in charge of. Um, I didn't know anything about selling. I didn't know anything about consumer products. I didn't know anything about Madhya Pradesh. I had never been to Madhya Pradesh ever in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Fokker Friendship, or was it an Avro? IC 434 was the flight from Bombay to Indore. It used to be a flight that used to go from Bombay, Indore, Indore, Bhopal, Bhopal, Jabalpur, Jabalpur, Raipur. And I've done that leg maybe, God knows, maybe 50 to 100 times.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and in the team of 6 salespeople, they ranged in age from 35 to 58.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was 23 years old when I became their leader. So, and I knew nothing. So I think, I don't know what made me do what I did, but I went to the senior most person, the 58-year-old couple, and I said, Mr. Couple, uh, I know I'm your boss, supposed to be, but I don't know anything. You are considered to be the god of sales in Ponds because he was considered to be a god of sales. Will you teach me? So he looked at me and said, so many people have been my bosses like you, young kids. They come and become my boss. Not one of them has ever said what you just said. He then put his arm around me and said, you are like my son. I'm going to teach you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he was an amazing mentor for me in those years. So to me, that thing stuck in my brain. I
Mm-hmm.
still believe some of the best learning you can have is when you go to your team, doesn't matter how many levels below, and you can ask them, teach me how you do this because I don't know. And today it is even more important because, you know, I'm 60 years plus. Um, when I speak to 20-year-olds, I realize there are so many things I have no idea
Mm-hmm.
how they deal with this AI and that thing and that thing. And the only way I learn is I'll actually say, I don't know this, tell me, teach me how to do it. So I
Mm-hmm.
learn a lot from young people even today. So, and it started, I think, in those days.
This is wonderful, Tiger. These mindsets, I think, once again, people keep talking of skills and skills. I think it is these mindsets to be able to learn from whoever has it and openly accept it that, look, will you teach me? Not many. No
Yeah.
wonder he said that no one has come and said this. I think all of those set you up for what you were able to do subsequently. Wonderful. I hope people who are listening agree with it. So now we come to the big story of your professional career. Of course, it continues. GE Capital, the team that you were part of was a back office team. Is that correct?
No.
Hmm.
So I joined G Capital in 1994.
Hmm.
So after Levers, I joined Citibank for 3 years
Yes.
in
Yes.
financial services. And then in
Yes.
1994, I joined G Capital.
Right.
That was a classic financial services company. I joined when G Capital entered the country.
Hmm.
I joined because over a couple of weekends, when I used to work in Delhi but live in Bombay with Citibank, I read Jack Welch's one of his books.
Hmm.
I fell in love with his philosophy. I read another two of his books the next weekend.
Hmm.
I went to the Connaught Place bookshop and bought the next two books. I read all three of his books and I said, I have to join this company. I don't know how, but I'll find a way to join it. I want to
Hmm.
be part of his way of running the company. And I dug around and realized that G Capital was just beginning to come into the country.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
figured out who it was, and I found a way to reach that person and said, I want to talk to you if there's any job.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and given my financial services background with Citibank and my sales and distribution background, and given GE Capital's first business was going to be consumer finance that they were going to set up, it wasn't that difficult for me to get a job
Hmm.
as the risk leader
Hmm.
of GE Capital's consumer finance business in India.
Hmm.
The day I joined, I
Hmm.
pretty much was the first person who joined the consumer finance business. So it was
Okay.
a clean sheet of paper. And the
Hmm.
first person who joined was risk leader. Of course, I didn't interview for the risk leader's job. I interviewed for the marketing leader's job. During the interview, Pramod Bhasin, who was running G Capital at that time, he came from the US to set up G Capital in India.
Hmm.
Halfway through the interview, he said, "Actually, I know you're looking for the marketing job because you've done sales and marketing with Ponds, Levers, Citibank, etc. But what if I tell you that I can give you the risk management job, chief risk officer?
Hmm.
What do you think?" I said, "Great, I'll take it."
Hmm.
He looked at me and said, "You're an idiot." He said, "You come for the marketing job and I give you the risk job and you say you'll take it. Do you realize in financial services, it's the opposite job? It makes no sense."
Hmm.
I said, "Pramod, I've not come here for a job.
Hmm.
I've come here for a 50-year career. Um, if you think that a starting point is risk, I'm okay. Whatever I take is only going to be for 1 or 2 years. I'm going to do other things. I have no idea. You have no idea." So, and I said, "I actually understand why you think risk is better for me, because you will find lots of marketing people. You will
Hmm.
not find a marketing person who understands risk. The
Hmm.
combination is very difficult to find. And I
Hmm.
think you realize that I've done some stuff in risk and I have
Hmm.
a marketing many years. That
Hmm.
combination, I actually agree with you. It's a good move. So I'm taking it." So anyhow, so I did that.
I
I was
understand.
risk leader for about a year. Then I became the CEO of the consumer businesses. We formed a joint venture with HDFC. We formed a joint venture with HDFC and Maruti for auto finance. So I was the CEO of both the joint ventures. And then in 1998,
Okay.
uh, when the back office business had
Hmm.
just been set up by Pramod,
Hmm.
and it was about 100 people, um, I was getting ready to move into my next job, possibly in either Chicago or in Hong Kong with G Capital. But he said, "Let's go and grab lunch. I want to talk to you about something."
Hmm.
And he talked to me about why shouldn't I run that 200, 100 people organization.
Hmm.
And he said, "In 10 years, it'll become 3,000 people. It'll be big. You would like to do big things. So that's big. You want to be involved in everything in GE. You'll be involved in everything in GE, all the businesses." So over lunch, I heard him and I said, "Okay, I'll take it." He said, "No, no, no, think about it." I said, "No, I have thought about it. I'm taking it." So, so that was the beginning of that journey. And then, we spun off in 2005, became independent. 2011, Pramod retired and I became the CEO.
Mhm. But taken bold chances at every step of the way and then made it work really. Is it when you decided this, I'll take it, is it just a inner conviction, or you said no, no, what I'll work and do whatever it takes to make it work? Just to give us a little sense of the thought process.
They're actually great question, because I actually am very clear about how these decisions I used to make.
Mm-hmm.
So, so my method of making the decision was um, the next job that is being offered,
Mm-hmm.
potentially inside the same company, is that job going to be a job that excites you because you're going to learn a lot of things that you don't know? And if the answer is yes, you actually don't know many things, you're going to learn that, and that's exciting. It's scary, but it's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some things that you can start doing immediately because you
Mm-hmm.
know some stuff. So 50% you have no clue and it's actually scary. 50% you know how to start and you can deliver some value. I look for that kind of a combination. The
Mm-hmm.
second um, is what you're going to do important for the company? And if the answer is yes, that's great. Is the person you're going to work for someone for whom what you're going to do is important and who you can respect? That's
Mm-hmm.
just three questions. Is the
Mm-hmm.
job 50% crazy and scary, and 50% you can deliver immediate value? Second, is the job important for the company? And third, is the
Mm-hmm.
job important for your boss, and do you kind of respect the new boss? And if the answer to those questions is agreeable, which is a
Mm-hmm.
1 hour conversation, decision made. That's it.
Mm. Let me, I mentioned it to everyone that feel free to, open your videos. It is just the audio that we want to control. It will be wonderful to watch, the conversation, the way, Tiger shares his experience. There are many, you have an entire range of young and not so young professionals, seasoned ones. Many of them still have to decide. I think there is a terrific learning from the way you have gone about taking these bold calls in your career. So that was, genesis of Genpact. You took up that role. And then tell us a little bit about, we have been reading in bits and pieces about it in business press, as you know. And then it's transformative growth. Tell us something about that.
Yeah, I think, a little bit is it was a time when actually the world was discovering
Hmm.
Indian talent
Hmm.
to actually deliver all kinds of services, not just tech services, but tech
Hmm.
also in its early days. Um, and we focused on business services and data and analytical services, less on tech services at that time.
Hmm.
And we had the fortune of working with a company that actually was not in one business, was in probably 50 different businesses, um, pretty much unconnected with each other, from
Hmm.
making aircraft engines to power turbines to healthcare equipment to credit cards to large billion-dollar lending to bankrupt companies to running one of the largest channels, television channels in the US, NBC, to running
Hmm.
Universal Studios and the theme park. So the variety of businesses that GE had was amazing, and all across the globe, 172 countries. So it became, back to my, deep desire to learn. It
Hmm.
became a continuous learning journey for years and years and years.
Hmm.
I never
Hmm.
stopped. And
Hmm.
as a result, we were very experimentative. We tried a lot of things. GE gave us permission to try a lot of things. Many of those things failed, but many of them succeeded. Um, we hired great people, and
Hmm.
then everyone kept learning. So, the comment we would have inside the company is that Genpact is a university. Uh,
Hmm.
that's it. At the core, if you ask me, what is Genpact? We're a university. We keep learning. And our business was such that it was possible for us to keep learning forever. So that was one. And
Hmm.
two, um, we because we were part of a large company and we were part of a company that was very aggressive in its moves. If
Hmm.
something worked, they quickly moved to grow it, which is
Hmm.
one of the things that attracted me because Jack Welch was the kind where once something worked, he would drive that change fast. He was a big believer that speed made all the difference. I'm a big believer that the only thing that matters in the world of business is speed. Um, I don't believe that accuracy matters. Of course, it matters when you're closing the books or
Mm,
you're doing heart surgery. But in most other things, it doesn't matter. Speed is very important, particularly if you can keep correcting with speed. So instead of being 100% accurate, which might take 6 months, you are 80% accurate and you finish it in one day. The next day, you get feedback and you improve that to 81%, 82%, 83%. You reach 100% in probably 30 days because the
mm,
compounding of 1% improvement every day,
mm,
that's
mm,
it.
mm,
So, and that's the world of AI. So we kind of thought like that. And of course, Lean Six Sigma was a big
mm,
thing that we built a foundational strength in. So some of those things made a big difference to grow the company.
mm, mm,
And then we convinced GE to spin us off into an independent company so we could serve other clients. So that took us down another growth path.
okay.
Uh, but I would say, if you were
Mm,
to ask me, what is the single biggest thing that drove the company long term? And I'm no longer the CEO. I left in February 2024. I left the board in May 2025. I retired from the board in May 2025. I'm only a senior advisor now, so a little distant. But I think the company is still on these aspects the same, which is it's the culture of the company that has driven whatever it's driven. If you ask me one thing that's driven it, it's culture.
mhm, mm. Amazing, amazing. First making a mark inside of GE and then leveraging that goodwill to say, give us a chance, we will serve the whole world. I think those strategic moves made all the difference. So at one stage, it was one of the largest outsourcing organization. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, and even today in the space that we are in, we're pretty much number one, number two in the spaces. I still use the word we. Um, I guess, you know, 30 years being in the company and 13 years as CEO, you can't you
Right.
can't you can't take it out of your DNA.
It's difficult to forget. Yes.
Yeah. So I think that is still in the areas that the company competes in,
Hmm.
number one, number two. So an example would be supply chain services, financial services, lending operations,
Hmm.
insurance claims and underwriting operations,
Hmm.
finance and accounting, of course.
Hmm. Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think the company closes the books of 300 of the global 1,000 companies in the world. Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So the results of 300 of the global 1,000 companies are known by people who close those books, even before anyone else. So
Really some scale, it's amazing scale and quality. And I like this 80% accuracy. I think that's how we can
not in,
really.
not in closing the books. Closing the books has to be
No,
hard.
so that has to be 100%. But like you said, in terms of business,
Yeah,
that's when you can, that's when you can move with speed.
yeah,
And it's just that's the right time that you spoke about culture. A few minutes here and there, if we need more, you will have. Is that right? 12:30
yeah,
or
yeah,
hard stuff? Just a
yeah,
few minutes, don't worry.
yeah.
I'm just conscious that maybe I under budgeted the time. Um, since you spoke of the culture bit, learning you have already spoken, but I want to begin with something specific and then come to a little more generic aspect of culture in an organization. You promoted a practice that when you face a problem on your job, share it with people.
Mm.
Now, general thinking is that I will share my success. After I've done it, look, I made it, and then you share. So the whole idea to me appears a little counterintuitive. That when I'm struggling, that this I'm not able to solve. Would people be okay to kind of broadcast it that look, I'm dealing with this problem?
Yeah, I guess you can say it's counterintuitive. To me, it's completely not counterintuitive at all.
Is that
Um,
okay?
but I know that many people think it's counterintuitive. So
Yes.
therefore, my job was to, and my leadership team's job was to explain why it's not counterintuitive and make it a habit.
Hmm.
And we built that as part of our culture. So culture, that's one of the elements of the culture. So if you start with the premise that we all have the same objective, we're all
Hmm.
part of this one company. That company has one objective, If we are part of one client team, then the objective is to drive value to the client. If the objective is, let's say, financial performance of the company, whatever the objective is, but we have the same objective. We are all part of the same company, the same team. Then, if you have a problem, which means you are unable to, meet your objective, I also have a problem. It's just that I don't know it. So we all have a problem. So therefore, first of all, there is no such problem as your problem. It is always our problem. So every problem is our problem. It's not a your problem. Team versus individual. Second, 100% of the time, always, when 25 minds attempt to solve a problem, the solution is better, faster, cheaper than if one person tries to solve the problem. So once you intellectually agree with these two things, then you say, okay, I agree, but I don't know how to make it because I can't do it. Then you encourage it. You start doing it yourself. The most important thing that a leader has to do if they want to drive change is to actually be the role model. So I role modeled that a lot. My leadership team role modeled that a lot. We encourage that. You have to align incentives and performance appraisals based on that behavior. So if two people came and said, I achieved my goal, and the other person also said, I achieved my goal, that was not the only question to answer. The other question to answer is, tell me, who was involved in achieving your goal? Oh, no. I was very clever. I found the answer and I achieved it. Okay. And the other person said, I involved these 10 people and we together found the answer. The third question I ask is, how many people have you shared your learnings with on how you did it? No, I shared with everyone that we succeeded. I haven't shared how we did it. Whereas the other person said, oh, I've immediately shared how we did it. I've now set up calls so I can teach everyone else. So it's our problem, not your problem. The moment I get a problem, I'm going to assume someone else has already solved it. So why should I waste my time? So I'm going to tell everyone, I have this problem. Any of you have solved it. So then one person will say, hey, I had the same problem yesterday. Here's the answer. Okay, great. Because I get rewarded not for finding a new solution, but for solving the problem. And if I can get someone else's answer and solve it, this is not a exam. We are not supposed to ask the other person what is the answer. Copy paste is wonderful.
This is amazing.
In fact, it's the opposite, which is people who did not include other people to solve the problem. At some point in time, we fired them. People who did not share how they solved the problem and teach other people because they didn't want to share it, we fired them. There's no such thing as it's okay. One warning, two warnings, you have to change. If you don't change, I'm firing you, and you're fired. Even though you may have performed amazing in terms of results. So results are important, but how you get those results are equally important.
See, that explains how the culture got deep rooted in this. And as I think about it, I think the foundational thing was with role modeling, with communication, your team owned up the results and rest of the people that it's a company's problem. It's not my individual problem.
Yeah, and it cascaded down. Yeah.
Cascaded.
So our communication channels were extremely rapid and extremely wide. If there was a problem that was happening in Bucharest in Romania and someone was dealing with the problem, everyone in other parts of the world knew what is the problem and how they were trying to solve it. They would contribute to it. And then when the solution was found and it worked, then everyone would know what worked and how it happened. So and all of that happened at rapid pace, well before all these communications have now improved. So I remember in 2017, I think, we were awarded by Zoom as the top 10 users of Zoom.
I see.
So pandemic had nothing to do with our Zoom adoption.
Okay.
We were top 10 companies in the world. And we were a small company as compared to many other big companies.
Sure.
For example, I think IBM was one of the people who got the award. IBM is massive. We were small. We got top 10 award from the CEO of use of Zoom in 2017. So for
Okay.
us, when the pandemic happened, it was like, okay, this is how we live our life in any case. It's all Zoom in any case. So
Mhm. This is amazing, and that is where large majority of organizations are. I think they don't realize the value of communication and role modeling. They don't do enough.
yeah,
They think one town hall is enough, and that's why, that was my related question. That you 7, 8 out of 10 organizations, you see dilution of this thinking
yeah.
and this way of working as you travel the very next layer and the next layer. And here you are 100,000 plus organization where this became a way of working. So obviously together with you, your second line and your leadership team was
Oh,
also.
in fact, in some cases, they were even better than me. Many of them who are still in the company, are amazing people at this. So, many of us would travel to our operating centers.
Mhm,
I think today the company has 140,000 people. When I left, the company had 130,000 people, and they are spread across 35 different countries. They are spread across 100 plus delivery centers.
mhm,
So when we travel, so when I traveled, for example, to let's say the Bucharest delivery center or the Hyderabad delivery center or the Philippines delivery center, I would spend, let's say, a full day in Hyderabad,
mhm,
meaning 15 hours. In the 15 hours, I would meet probably about 100 different teams.
mhm, mhm,
With each team, I'm talking about the team that actually does the work, which is 5, 6 levels below. And I would meet the team and talk to them about what they are doing, what problem they're solving, what challenges they're facing, what amazing things they've done, and we would have a discussion. And I would furiously have a couple of people in my team take my chief of staff, for example, take notes about the things that we were hearing, and I would also check if some of the things we're talking about at the leadership level is getting down to them or not. And
mhm,
that was my way of making sure that
mhm,
they heard from me
mhm,
everything and I could touch and feel it. I also learned
mhm,
so much in those interactions because when you meet someone who said, we did this with this pharma company, I'd say, wow, I didn't know that.
mhm,
So I'd
mhm,
learn and then I'll push it out to everyone else saying, do you know this team did this? Everyone should learn. So again, role modeling.
mhm. Wonderful. I think that explains how in such a large organization people worked in a well-aligned manner, and it showed in the kind of scaling up and growth that you all were able to do. Together with this pace of growth and so much happening, while I get a sense of it, but I still want to hear it from you. People invest enormous amount of resources and time in building leadership pipeline, and you read reports after report, DDI, Gallup. Leadership bench is a casualty in 7, 8, 9 out of 10 organizations. Yeah, here you are, the way you were working, number of people who worked with you have gone on to lead businesses, business verticals, even outside organizations. So reflect about this and share us a little more. I have got some sense of it. How did this building leadership pipeline, leadership bench naturally happen in during the time that you were running it?
So Pramod, for when I go back to 1998, 99,
Mm.
we were 100 people. Um, the um, One of the deep strengths of the organization that we built when we were 100 people was our HR leadership
Mhm,
at that time.
mhm,
Um, our practices in HR, leadership development, training, and leadership values and thinking, um, when we were 100 people, we built our practices so that it can serve a 500,000 people organization.
Okay.
Right from the beginning, we were clear that the foundation of our organization is going to be leadership development. We kind of had the advantage of growing up inside GE, and that was Jack Welch's philosophy. If you go back to some of the books he's written, his deep philosophy was all businesses at the end of the day are the same. They all have problems to solve. And of course, you need some people who understand the business deeply. I mean, you need engineers to understand how an aircraft engine turbine works and a blade works. But the broader leadership capabilities are not different between Universal Studios that manages Hollywood stars and an aircraft engine manufacturer. And GE would move people around those businesses. So that's the world we grew up in. So when we set up Genpact, we said we will pay amazing attention to leadership development. We will develop leaders who can do jobs that are 1,000 times bigger than what they are currently doing. So we hired people like that. When I hired the initial team for the 100 people, I hired leaders who were doing much bigger jobs in other places. And I brought them in with the excitement and the vision to do something big. And I would tell them, you're starting small, but you are so big, you will make it big. Because you have to make it big, because you're big. So everyone's job was leadership development. The second is back to goals and incentives. We used to actually have performance appraisals of leaders where they have to share how many leaders are they developing, what steps have they taken to develop leaders, and how many leaders have you given up to move to other parts of the company. So if you tell me that you've developed 7 amazing leaders, but in the last 3 years, you have not given any of them to other people, you will be penalized. The best leaders were those people who created 7 leaders. Then every year they gave up 1 or 2 leaders. They created the next 1 or 2 leaders, and they kept giving up 1 or 2 leaders. So that became a leadership pipeline. And those leaders would get promoted to bigger and bigger jobs. So the people running the company today who have been in the company a long time, of course, a bunch of people have come from the outside as well. And over time, they also become indoctrinated into the culture. But a lot of the leaders who grew up in the company, the reason they have been so successful is because they actually did this amazingly well. They produced leaders because they were evaluated on producing leaders, and not producing leaders for themselves, but producing leaders for other people.
I think that explains.
And by the way, they'll get leaders from other people as well. So it is a barter system.
Yes.
Right? You create a marketplace of leaders.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So all along, for you, it was never about operational results alone. Operational results were just one. And the way you talked of spending time in delivery centers and all, that means substantial chunk of your time was on communicating, connecting, understanding, and disseminating.
Yep.
So when the CEO is doing it, the next line does it, and so does the next, and so on. So I think these practices and this mindset explains how when rest of the organizations, and that's a fact. I mean, you report, I'm sure you would know, these DDI reports they bring out every year of leaders, state of leadership in organizations, and a fairly extensive, exhaustive report. Leadership bench is a casualty, but here you are, and you were it was the first organization you were leading, but then I think the kind of practices and seriousness with which you led, and you led from the front. So I think that is what has made all the difference. And no
No,
wonder.
but I also had, as I said, 2 advantages. One was learnings from GE where we grew up. Um,
Yeah.
just as you know, as humans evolve, what they learned in their early childhood often is deep in their DNA. Similarly, in the birth of a business and in the birth of a company, the early years make a big difference in the DNA of the company. It's the same.
Sure.
It's exactly the same. So
Yes.
that DNA is still the same. And the
Mm,
second is, the bunch of leaders who are part of the team, my team and my extended team. Some
mm.
of them were, in many cases better than me. So I learned from them. An example would be my HR leader. I mean, he's been an amazing HR leader now since 2005. He's still there.
I
He's the
see.
HR leader of the new CEO.
Okay.
Piyush Mehta is his name. Amazing guy. So people like that actually were even more responsible and accountable and drove the culture and this thinking and leadership development as an example than just me and communicating. So yeah, it is actually the team again. Back to the no one person can make a difference. It's the team.
Absolutely. You just have to lead it from the front, then that's when the team also steps up. So
But
that,
but, but sometimes you should lead it from the front so that you become an example. But
yes.
sometimes you should actually, after doing that for some time, you should actually go behind and sit at the back and
Yes.
have other people lead it and watch and take pride in that
Yes.
because you also need to, have other people lead it
Sure. Sure.
because they bring a different perspective and
Yeah.
sometimes actually it's better. Uh,
Sure.
so that variety of perspective and diversity of perspective is important. And two, it also allows different practice,
Mm.
slightly different ways and nuances. So it's a more
Mm.
rounded, holistic journey.
Sure, sure, absolutely. That once you have got them ready, that's the purpose that you
Yeah,
drive it. I am available.
yeah.
So that, of course, has served your purpose, and it will. Um, so now, it's not too far ago. It's only 2024 that you kind of CEO's role. You have now done your term, and you are in the advisory role now, not only for Genpact, but the number of organizations that I shared. And there are some people, including me, who have done their full-time terms. Um, so, what difference do you see when you see yourself in the CEO's role, trying to do things in organizations in a certain way, and in an advisory role where you obviously are still keen to influence and shape and work with the senior team that organization runs in a certain manner? How do these two roles compare? It'll be useful to hear.
Yeah, so a little bit it goes back to mindset. So I'll start by saying, for me, my mindset is always, uh, you know, being accountable for results. Uh,
Mhm.
Even though the one big difference between an executive role
Mm.
and advisory role is that in an advisory role, you're actually not accountable for results.
Yeah.
Um, Formally, you're not accountable for results. That's one
Right.
big difference.
Yes.
And some people don't like that because you're not accountable for results.
Mm.
My approach is, yeah, I'm not accountable for results in the sense that maybe I don't get paid for the results. Maybe I don't get paid for, or I don't get the credit for the results.
Mm.
I'm only an advisor,
Mm.
and I actually don't care. I consider myself still accountable for results.
Mhm.
When I advise, I get deeply, passionately involved to make sure that the result works. And if it doesn't work, then I'm upset.
Mhm.
If it works, then I'm delighted. Once you get that into your DNA, then actually there's no difference.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
second
Mhm.
is I was fortunate, even in my CEO job, of being in an industry and in a company where I had a lot of variety. I
Mhm.
dealt with lots of different industries. I dealt with, teams across the globe. I dealt
Mhm.
with clients across the globe. I dealt with all kinds of services, all kinds of technologies. I dealt with cutting edge technology and trying to bring that into the company. So I had that advantage. So therefore, one of the advantages of an advisory portfolio is that you can deal with lots of things. I
Mhm.
actually always had that. I just have further expanded that. So now I'm involved in lots of different things.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
the third is that, you know, when you're in a corporate executive job, you build a deep sense of ownership with a team of people. And yes, you're the captain of the team, but you're one of the members of the team, and the team is going to climb Mount Everest. And the team is doing that every quarter, every year, many years together.
Mm-hmm.
In the advisory role, uh, first of all, that time and effort is distributed across multiple advisory roles. Therefore, that time is distributed. So you don't spend that much time with the same team.
Yeah, sure,
So
sure.
that's a negative.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, I'm always an optimist. Glass is always half full. The big positive is you spend time with many teams.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, you have an opportunity to build many more orbits of relationships.
Right, right,
Some
right.
orbits intersect with each other. Some orbits don't intersect with each other. So you can actually learn completely unconnected orbits. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
most of the things that I do have some connection to technology, data, AI. Most of them are B2B. Most of them are leadership, development, building teams, driving change, transformation. Uh, Most of them involve some element of mentoring, coaching, and using a journey to execute strategy. Um, and therefore, they have lots of connections. And you can take
Mm-hmm.
learnings from one team and what you're doing to another team and what you're doing. But in many cases, they are not connected. I mean, the work I do with SP Gen as the board member of the management school in London actually has no direct connection to the work I do with being on the board of Jabil in
Mm-hmm.
Florida as a public company. But it's connected because it's all about leadership development. So,
Sure, yes, at the foundation of it. I'm tempted to ask one more if you are okay.
yeah,
Impromptu. Uh, it's not very common to find um, the level of conviction that we must communicate and develop the ownership in my second line, and we must insist that they develop a similar way of working with their teams and so on. You kind of some of it you made that shift early on during your IM days and from IIT days, and then you have built on it, and then G happened and all of that. But you have mentored and kind of uh, influenced leaders who came from outside and grew from within uh, to and then bring them in alignment with this thinking. So if one has to say one or two things, besides of course role modeling and consistently demonstrating, those are of course the things. But if you were to wear your advisory hat and talk about organizations in general, how what are one or two things that they need to do, or maybe they're not doing? I don't know if you share my observation that leadership bench and leadership pipeline is not really in the best of shape in good number of organizations.
yeah.
So if you had to say one or two things that the top leadership could do, what would those be?
So I actually have a very clear view on this topic because I've written about it and
I see.
I
Okay.
have a deep view on it.
Okay.
I think in general, in the world of business, and I'll
Mhm.
stick to business. By the way, it applies to politics, it applies to governments, it applies to not-for-profits, it applies to everything. Um, but let's stick to business. In the world of business, uh, most often success is measured as tell me how the business performed under
Mm,
your leadership,
mm,
which
mm,
means the start date of your leadership and the end date of your leadership. How did the business perform?
mm,
I
mm,
have fundamentally had a problem with that thinking.
mm, mm, mm,
In our personal lives, I think it'll be fair to say that as we grow older, our real pride comes from what our kids are doing
that's right.
and their success, right?
Mm,
And at some point in time, you actually take even more pride in their success than in
mm,
your own success. So,
that's right.
why is that different in business? It should be the same. So, my fundamental belief has been, can you measure success after your uh, term is over?
Mm, mm, mm,
And 3 years later, 4 years later, can you look back and say, that company,
mm,
you remember that company? I used to run that company.
mm,
And
mm,
now it is running even better.
mm, mm,
But
mm,
I used to be there for 20 years. And it's a legacy that the company is still running so well. On the other hand, I have seen narratives that say, oh, the day I left the company actually didn't
Yes.
well from that day onwards.
You hear
So,
more that. Yes.
so part of the problem is the way that whole discussion is had by investors, by the market. Everyone talks about start and end date. How is the performance? The
Right.
second is human ego. People like saying, "मैंने किया था." Oh, so your job is not to create legacy for the future? I thought that is your job. Ultimately, that is your job.
Yes. So.
Long term, that is your job. But I mean, by the way, there are some really bad examples of what I just described in amazing companies, brand names whom we all recognize, where the CEO has handed over to a successor and 2 years later says, fired, I come back. Then hands over to the next successor and says, I'm going, but actually not gone. And then 2 years later comes back again. And basically says that this company can run only with me. Really? So who's the problem? You are the problem.
That's beautifully put.
Yeah. So I think at the for every individual leader, irrespective of their role, they always have to think about what am I building that is long lasting, processes, structures, institutions, culture, which will outlast me, because culture once built lasts a long time. That's good.
Yes.
And then the leaders that I'm developing who will carry that forward. And that's my role. My role is not just to deliver today's numbers. It's to set something up for the long term. So, anyhow, I think that's a fundamentally deep problem, which I don't think is going to get solved easily.
Yeah.
There are lots of governments across the globe where typically after an amazing leader who's been at the head of the government for many years, but didn't create a good succession plan, problem.
Yeah. So, I mean, legislation-wise, board succession plan, and all of that is started. But like you described, the mindset-wise, I think we have a long way to go.
Yep.
But I think, I have already overshot the time that you had committed. Tiger, this has been a masterclass,
Thank you.
absolutely, all the way right from question one. I hope people who are here would agree. On every question, the way you brought it out from your own experience, the way you spoke about execution, the depth of it, and finally the legacy bit that you spoke about, an absolute masterclass. And I have no doubt that the recording of it will really show in terms of the number of people who would watch and in terms of benefit at various levels of leadership. So your example of setting up the organization, building the processes, building up people, and taking this organization to the level where you took it is some kind of a role model that business press has been talking about for some time. But I'm happy that I got a chance to get a little deep dive on what was happening inside the story. So thank you very much for your time, Tiger. And we look forward to disseminating this discussion to a much wider audience. And I hope to remain in touch with you and learn from your whole style of leading organization. Thank you so much, Tiger.
Thank you very much, Pramod, for inviting me. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. I learned a lot in this discussion. It made me think. Like always, one of the things I love talking. You ask questions that other people are not. So appreciate that. And do come to Bombay often because my mom is there. My daughter-in-law's family is there. So on my next trip in December, Thank you.
Thank you so much. And each one of you, thank you very much. And the recording will also be shared with you.
Thanks
Thank you very much,
for
everyone.
organizing this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.